Welcome back to Chapter 6 of my Fire Emblem Engage LTC run. Believe it or not, this is sort of a breather chapter relative to the other maps near it. Like the previous chapter, it is a defeat boss map where the main boss killers are Vander and Selene. But this time, Vander has Sigurd and Selene has Celica, which makes a lot more sense. Since the arena has opened, these two units are able to make use of Sigurd and Celica's damage boosting skills respectively. This is a Fog of War map, which makes it fairly constraining in terms of movement. We can't warp Ragnarok straight to the boss on turn 1 this time, so we have to light up a path for Vander. One unit we have tasked for this is Alfred, mostly because he has 5 movement and reasonable bulk, so he can march ahead and use the torch dropped by the sword fighter. Chloe can also do this actually. At the time, I wasn't sure if I was going to promote her in this run, but her EXP ends up not being important.
For the Divine Dragon!
Vander is going to navigate through the forest to avoid being blocked off by the thieves. He preferably dodges this axe fighter on enemy phase. They only have 25 hit against him, which isn't so bad.
I won't get lost.
A few units are going to stay behind to grab the droppable hammer and longbow later. Their XP isn't important either. In fact, no one else is really important to train yet except for Alear. But money is very stingy throughout the run, so we have to grab whatever items we can get. Alear kills some enemies on the top of the map, now doing so with Mercurius for doubled XP gain. At the same time, she's clearing a path for Yunaka. Yunaka gains the Makai ring after the thief is killed, so she can use the Illume staff with extra range, which Vander will eventually need in order to reach the boss. On enemy phase, Selene takes drip damage from the longbow archer that brings her to half health. This is needed to activate Folkfanger's skill, boosting her attack by 3. She doesn't actively have the weapon equipped yet, so she needs to stay at half health for the next turn as well. Bushiroad baits the hammer guy on the right. He did not need to dodge this attack, and him doing so does not affect the rest of the strategy. Alear keeps this enemy alive in order to squeeze out a bit of extra chip XP, and just kill them on enemy phase instead. Thanks to the dragon bonus on divine speed, she regains just enough health on the second hit to survive combat against both enemies. Yunaka casts Illume now, as she won't have a chance to do so next turn, and although it lingers, the effect diminishes every turn. Selene feeds the kill to Chloe, but it actually may be optimal to feed the kill to Selene instead. Selene will be one of the boss killers, but she doesn't have enough health to survive a hit from the boss, even with Fortified Death active. If she gains a level, she would proc HP, which would allow survival even without a dodge. Speaking of dodges, Vander also needs to dodge a hit during the next enemy phase. In preparation for this, he uses a Sigurd engraved hand axe to increase his avoid rate. Etier and Bushrun also bait a couple enemies forward, opening the possibility of burning more RNs. Louise goes south to grab the longbow as well. It is actually possible for Louise to be the boss killer of this map instead of Vander, but Vander does it with a killer axe, which has much better long-term applications in this run than a killer lance. In theory, Louise could also kill the boss without a crit using a spear forge or gaining 2 level ups, neither of which are possible in this run unfortunately. Finally, Fram trades the torch from Chloe to Alfred over the course of 2 turns, and that will give Vander enough space to reach a position where he can bait the boss on enemy phase. He does so by using this axe fighter as a counter target, since luckily taking an action lights up the area around you before counter activates. For Vander to survive, he must dodge either a 55% hit from the axe fighter, a 62 hit from the boss, 2 80% chain attacks, a chain attack plus a 92 thief hit, or an 86 hit from the archer. Or he must crit the axe fighter on player phase, which actually happened in my last run. He's also exposed to a small crit rate from the archer, which shouldn't happen either. Given all that, along with his potential dodge on turn 1, he would collectively have about a 50% chance of survival. It's unfortunate that we already used the HP and Death tonics in the previous map, as that would improve his survivability a lot here. Luckily, the rest of the team has no chance of death, except for Clan, who are idiotically exposed to a 2% crit. Alear reaches 1 HP if she gets hit by everything, which she did in this case. On a slight tangent, it's worth noting that there is a theoretical turn save in this map. It involves Vander killing the boss twice across player and enemy phase using a Marth engraved tomahawk. It's not compatible with this run since it requires a strength tonic, which was already used in chapter 5. It's also extremely cursed. At the start of turn 3, Yunaka moves down and uses Great Sacrifice. This will simultaneously heal everyone to full and give Vander enough vision to reach the boss thanks to Yunaka's Illume from the previous turn. Vander then needs to land a crit on the boss, but his chance of that is far better than it was in chapter 5, thanks to the Marth engraved Killer Axe Forge. That said, it's still not close to guaranteed. To avoid repetition, I skipped a couple time crystal uses, in which Alfred and Louis attack some enemies and grab the longbow drop. After Vander successfully lands the crit, Celine drops in with Warp Ragnarok. Thanks to Folkvanger, she has enough attack to 2-hit KO him across player and enemy phase. However, the effect of Resonance causes her to die on counter hit, so she teleports onto a forest tile and prepares to dodge the boss. In hindsight, inheriting Tome Precision on her may have been a good idea for this chapter, although that would also make it harder for her to take an intentional hit on turn 1 and enter Folkvanger range. The remainder of this map isn't too important. I leave a few units inactive so that I have the option to burn more RNs in case Celine fails to dodge. Thankfully, Celine succeeds on her first attempt and kills the boss on counter, ending the map in 3 turns.